It's time for our last Fan Fiction Friday until the summer, but this time, you guys judge us. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, March 21st, 2025. This is Titan Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. So, it's Fan Fiction Friday, which is typically a show where you submit your Mariners trade ideas, and we, of course, grade them on the 20/80 scale. But today, we're switching roles. We're going to tell you our Mariners trade ideas, and you, in the comments below, are going to grade us on the 20/80 scale. 20, of course, being absolute garbage, and 80, of course, being the best trade you've ever seen. Also, grading our trades is a very easy way for you to enter the giveaway we've got going on right now. So before we hop into our trades, Colby, tell them what they can win and how to enter.
Yeah, so we are doing what I would say is our biggest giveaway to date, or at least potentially. Like most of our giveaways, this is a tiered giveaway. There are certain thresholds we need to meet to add new prizes to the prize pack. Now, typically, we just add a prize winner. But this time we're all putting it into one pile, and one person who leaves a comment on a video posted between yesterday and the end of the Mariners' first homestand is going to win all the prizes to which threshold we have met. So it's, again, very simple to enter. All you have to do, subscribe, leave a comment. Like Ty said today, really easy comment. You could just put a number down there. I mean, to be fair, you could just put a number on any episode, like
sure,
that counts as a comment, but
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, very easy today. But when we announced the giveaway, we had already crossed the threshold to give away this Victor Robles autograph card. So somebody's going to walk away with that and a $25 gift certificate to Simply Seattle. Somebody last night we passed another threshold, and so we will be adding this JP Crawford autograph card and another $25 gift certificate to Simply Seattle. Next up, we're about 40 away from the next threshold, give or take, at the time of this recording. And next up would be this Eugenio Suarez autograph card and another $25 gift certificate to Simply Seattle. Our hope is that we can get really close to 13K by the end of the Mariners' first homestand. We're about, 240-ish away from that. So if we get there, we get all the way to 13K. The prize pack will also include this Felton Celestin autograph card. And this Lazaro Montes autograph card, and an additional $50 in Simply Seattle gift certificate. So grand prize winner, if we reach our goal, we'll walk away with $125 in gift cards to Simply Seattle and these 5 autograph cards. So, subscribe, leave a comment. And even though it's not required, feel free to like the video as well. That would also help. So, that's what we're doing. And, like I said, already somebody's definitely walking away with $50 of Simply Seattle gift cards and a JP Crawford and Victor Robles autograph card. So we're off to a good start. But yeah, that's the giveaway we're doing this time around. And if you guys want more details, the terms and conditions are in the description down below.
Yep. And also on whatever platform you might be listening to this on. But if you are listening just on a streaming platform, head on over to YouTube. Leave a comment below and you are entered into the giveaway. So yeah. All right. Let's get into our trades here. Colby, you want to kick things off, or should I go first?
I would just like to say the following before we get started. Your 20 grades that are inevitably going to flood the comment section, they mean nothing to me.
Hey, this was your idea. You wanted the smoke.
I mean, well, first of all, I don't care about the smoke because, every opinion I give without people's permission makes me feel better about myself. So don't really care, about your booze. I've seen what you cheer, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Go ahead. Do your worst. I don't read the comments anyways. So
yes, he does.
Only when I'm really bored. I look at the top 3, the 3 latest.
Sure.
Although sometimes Google or YouTube has like suggested responses that are funny to read because
Yeah,
sometimes
they are
they're
very
way
funny.
out there. You're like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, some
Wow.
of them get really aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeesh. So, yeah. So do your worst. I don't care.
All right. Well, with that said, you going first then?
No, I don't care.
All right. Fine. I'll go first. Why not? I got a trade here with the Pirates. The Mariners get David Bednar and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa for Harry Ford, Teddy McGraw, and Jared Sundstrom. So the reason that Harry Ford is in the steal, we're having to make a lot of assumptions here, right? So, I mean, I think actually we probably should have started this by saying that we are assuming that the Mariners are buyers at the deadline. Very clear-cut buyers, right? They're not doing like the buy and sell type of thing. Like they are fully all in on buying at the deadline. So we are assuming here that David Bednar is pretty significantly better than he was last year, and that he's closer to the guy.
2023 than 2024. Yeah.
He's a lot closer to the guy that he was instead of, or that he was before last year instead of the guy that he was this past year. So Ford, McGraw, Sundstrom to the Pirates for Bednar and Kiner-Falefa. Kiner-Falefa is a rental. He gives you a guy that can move around the diamond, give you some defense, and is probably a league average bat at best.
Yeah, and this deal, he's kind of a throw-in, and you're just the Pirates are probably just looking for somebody to take that contract. Not that it would be a ton of money by the time this trade would happen.
Also, this is assuming that McGraw is healthy and pitching, of course. Right. Need to also make that clear. Basically, it's Ford and McGraw for Bednar and then Sundstrom for Kiner-Falefa.
Yeah, I think that's fine so long as the like you said, Bednar is pitching well. Bullpen help is pretty darn expensive at the deadline, as we'll discuss here in a couple of my trades. So yeah, bullpen help is kind of a problem. Also, we should point out also that along with assuming a bunch of things here, we're also trying to kind of anticipate needs. So like we may think that first base is a big need or third base is a big need, and we might get to July and be like, why waste time? They're fine there. Like look else. Maybe outfield is the need, and we just can't see that right now. So keep all that in mind. But I think that's. Yeah, I think that's about right. Again, assuming Bednar is closer to what he was in 2023. I believe he's got a year and a half left, or he would have a year and a half left.
That's why it's Harry Ford here. Yeah.
Right. And I think the only reason Ford is like enough is because Bednar was really bad in 2024.
Yeah, and I'm not assuming that he's like a 2-win reliever again. I'm assuming that he's like a 0.7 to 1 win pitcher.
Basically what Garcia was when the Mariners acquired him.
Yeah, kind of.
Last year, but you get him for the extra year, and he's got just a slightly bigger track record.
He's got more track record, all that. Yeah.
At least of being like a high leverage reliever. Garcia last year was really a breakout year for him. Yeah. At the age of like 34, 35. So really weird. But yeah, I have a similar-ish trade where I'm trading Harry Ford.
Okay.
So we'll just jump over to that one. This is the least favorite one that I came up with. But so basically I have Trent Thornton, Harry Ford, and Tyler Guff to the Marlins for Calvin Fauché and Anthony Bender. So Bender and Thornton, very similar. They're basically a wash. Who cares? And so really it's Guff and Ford for Fauché. And Fauché was very, very good last year. A big part of this, again, is he has to be as good this year. The Marlins need talent desperately. And the Marlins have some very interesting bullpen pieces. So if you say, well, I don't want Fauché, I want Nardi, like, okay, like the cost still stands as it's going to be expensive. These are relievers who are not elite. They don't have much of a track record. So it's not going to be insanely expensive, but it's going to cost you something. It's going to hurt a little bit. Bullpen help is expensive to add at the deadline. Always has been, especially for the last 4 or 5 years. Even now you could go get a rental reliever who's had, having a good year, but was kind of, for the rest of his career, kind of like Garcia. You could get him relatively cheap. Still going to cost you something. But a guy like Fauché, who's not even ARB eligible yet, a guy like Bender, who's got a year and a half, those guys are going to cost, assuming they're pitching well. So yeah, it's aggressive. It's 2 relievers that I'm adding here. And again, based on what we know right now, could the Mariners use 2 relievers, one of them potentially high leverage, to pair with Munoz and Santos?
Yeah.
Hopefully Brash.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they could. And as we know, if you're going to be a run prevention team, you probably should go all in on that a little bit and be aggressive with the bullpen. And the nice thing about this deal is it doesn't cost you any money. You can't say, oh, we just can't afford to add that payroll in season. Yes, you can. There is no payroll to add. So, it's like I said, it's my least favorite. It's pretty boring. But trades like this are trades that like really good teams make. And if the Mariners are playoff contenders and they're all in, this is the type of move I could see them making.
Well, and Fauché is a high leverage reliever potentially, who's also pre-arb, right? Like you mentioned, this costs you no money, but you also get him for a long time, right? So yeah, it's going to be pretty pricey. I know you were also kind of debating like if it was going to be Nardi or Fauché in this deal. Did you ever think about Fauché and Nardi instead of Fauché and Bender?
Yeah, I mean, Nardi is interesting. Obviously, he has to be healthy, and I haven't been keeping track. I don't know how he's performing in spring, but did miss a good chunk of last year with some shoulder discomfort, so that's always a worrisome thing. And Nardi is probably, I mean, he's got like the highest ceiling, so there's a possibility Nardi is like, I mean, I don't want to say he's Josh Hader, but like Josh Hader light, and now all of a sudden that cost me Colt Emerson. Like, nah, I don't want to mess with that.
He got placed on the 60 with lower back inflammation back on March 15th. Yikes.
Yeah, so he might not even cost you Harry Ford now.
Yeah.
But
who knows if he's even pitching by the time that we get to the to this
big
place. So
there. But I think Fauché and Bender. Bender feels like he's going to be a Mariner this July. But it just might be one of those like Will Schomburg or whatever for Anthony Bender type of deals.
Sure.
I do think that Seattle should be pretty aggressive on bullpen help, particularly high leverage bullpen help. And I have another deal that addresses that a little bit later on.
All right, well, we'll go over that and more of our trades in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by both FanDuel and Gametime. All right, folks, it's that time of year again. March Madness is finally here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. That's FanDuel.com. There's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chants, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. I love that I can see the exact view from my seat before I buy, so there's no surprises when I get to the stadium. Gametime also has event cancellation protection and even job loss assurance, so I can buy with confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. It is Reverse Fan Fiction Friday. We are giving you our Mariners trades, and you are grading them on the 20/80 scale. Hope we have quite a few comments already down below on the first couple of trades that we've gone over. Here's my second trade of the day. This one's kind of a weird one. I tried to go after a player that most people probably aren't thinking about. It's a trade with the Blue Jays. It's a trade with the Blue Jays.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Dalton Varsho.
It is Dalton Varsho.
Yeah.
You are correct. It is
Because I
Dalton
thought about
Varsho.
that too, actually.
Yep. Dalton Varsho for Ty Pete and Ben Williamson. You get Varsho for, I believe, a year and a half.
1 year. I think it's 1 year.
No, he's a free agent in 2027, I believe.
Oh, okay. I thought it said at the end of 2025. So
Yeah, no, he's Super 2, so he's ARB4 this winter.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Varsho, at best, a league average bat. At least that's what he's been in Toronto, and he's been well below that as well at times. I think he was like an 85 WRC plus in 2023, but he's also arguably like a top 3 defender in all of baseball.
Yeah, he might be the best defender, regardless of position in all of baseball. Like he's in that conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, like, think about a defensive outfield potentially, assuming that Victor Robles is at least decent, of Robles, Julio, and Varsho, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's enough.
Okay.
What was it? Ty Pete and Ben Williamson?
Yeah.
I think it's really tough. The Blue Jays are kind of like the Rockies, where it's just like they're so delusional that it's kind of like tough to navigate. And also, obviously, we're assuming that the Blue Jays are out.
We're assuming that the Blue Jays are
struggle.
out. We're assuming that Varsho is, again, at best, like
a
hovering
league average
around
bat, but
he's hovering around a 100 WRC plus, but he's giving you elite defense, so he's still like a 2.5, 3-1 player.
Wasn't he like a 5-1 player last year? Wasn't
No,
the
he was
defense
he
that
was
good?
3.3.
Was he ever a 5-1 player?
He might have been with Arizona.
With that
He might have been
breakout
with
year, maybe?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know, because like
it's interesting, right?
well, because like it's just hard to factor in here because again, the Jays are delusional, but Randy Arozarena with a full extra year of club control went for a little bit more than this in terms of talent, but again, it's a full year of club control. So
I'd say if like it's better. It was a better return for Randy than this one.
Yeah, but I mean, not significantly. I guess it depends on how you feel about Williamson. Like Pete is obviously a high upside guy. Williamson's more of a floor guy. So yeah, it's interesting. I assume the plan would be that he mostly plays left field and Randy would DH at that point, mostly.
Yep.
Everyone
would just rotate.
But obviously, again, you have 3 guys who could legitimately play center field, so everybody can rotate through the DH and whatnot. Although you probably don't want Varsho DHing too much because you eliminate the actual value that he brings. So really, you want
everyone's rotating except for Varsho. Really.
Varsho, if he's playing in the field. Otherwise, there's no point in playing him. Dylan Moore at the plate, like a little bit better, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's interesting. I thought about Varsho too. I thought he was a rental though, so that's where I was at. But yeah, no, I think you probably need like a Harry Ford in there would be my guess. But,
Harry Ford, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, because again, we talk about this a lot. Harry Ford is such a polarizing prospect.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Blue Jays would love him or hate him. I don't know, but yeah, it's certainly interesting, and it is leaning into the run prevention thing, just not on the pitching side of it. So it's an interesting idea. We'll have to check in on that in July if the Jays are out of it, because obviously a lot of the focus will be on a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. potential trade.
Yeah.
And there are other pieces on that roster that could help Seattle.
Yeah. All right. What's your next trade?
Do I want to do the speaking of Vlad segue?
I do. I'll just admit right now I have a Vlad trade as well. I took
we'll
crack
save
at it. Yeah.
We'll save him. So next up I have a trade for a player that was perhaps more solidly linked to the Mariners than just about anybody this winter. And it's not the one you're thinking of. I can guarantee it.
Okay.
So I have them trading Gregory Santos,
okay,
Michael Morales,
and
Tyler Locklear.
Okay.
To the Washington Nationals for Nathaniel Lowe.
Ooh.
So
it's a good call. Yeah.
Yes, Lowe, the Mariners, we were told repeatedly, and not us, but like Adam Jude wrote about it, Ryan Divish wrote about it, Daniel Kramer, that the Mariners really like Lowe, and they wanted to put together an aggressive offer, but the Rangers were just like, no, we're not trading Lowe to you. The Nationals probably going to be sellers to some degree. Like they're one of the few teams. Now, I do think they're building something pretty nice over there, but they're at least a year or two away. Santos gives them a desperately needed bullpen arm who can help them now and also is, club controlled for the next 3-4 years on top of it. Locklear is kind of like the, hey, take a shot on him for half a year, see if he's your first baseman of the future. If he's not, whatever. Morales, solid prospect. He's going to keep getting pushed down the Mariners ranks. They have other starting pitcher options who are just better. So it's kind of a bulk deal, but again, we're talking about a year and a half of a non-elite first base only bat who doesn't really slug all that much despite playing, most of his games in Texas. So yeah, we'll see how he does in Washington. The nice thing about Lowe is that he is not a splits guy. He hits lefties and righties very well, equally. He's basically left-handed Ty France. A little more athleticism, but who cares? You're trading for the bat. It is just a solid bat. You could hit him second, you could hit him third, you could hit him fifth, sixth, and it just extends the lineup. And the thought here would be is that hopefully by this point you have Brash back and he's healthy and looking good. You have Coar back, he's healthy and looking good. Taylor, and so you kind of have this extra bullpen arm that, again, like we talk about, bullpen arms pretty expensive at the deadline. So I think this is an interesting one. Lowe is a guy that I think the Mariners are going to try to get this July. And if they don't get him in July, I think they'll try to get him in the winter. It does seem like they really like Lowe. And based on all the information we have right now, not in July, could you fit Lowe onto this roster? Sure. He's the primary first baseman. Now Luke Raley is freed up to move around the outfield and also DH. Solano, you could still get him time at first base, at third base, at DH if you need to. Doesn't really affect him all that much. So yeah, I think this is an interesting bat, and Lowe is basically like Solano, only younger with more upside. So
yeah,
I think this is an interesting deal.
And he'll put the ball over the wall more than Solano too.
Sure. I mean,
he's not like a 25 homer guy, but he'll put up 15 to
like it's very Ty France. It really is. Like good Ty France.
Good Ty France,
not 2023, 2024 Ty France.
Yeah.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, so we got a couple more trades to go over. I have a 3-team deal. I wanted to try and hit all the classics of Fan Fiction Friday.
As much as we say like you got to watch a 3-team deal with Jerry Dipoto, I don't know if he's made 3.
No.
Technically, I don't know if he's made 1 because like the Shed Long Sonny Gray trade, like they kind of,
it was like a day after
2 separate
right?
trades. So I don't know if he's ever technically made 1, a 3-team trade. So
at least not with the Mariners that I can remember off the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay. So,
but yeah, so we always get 3-team trades. So I wanted to take a stab at one. This one actually isn't going to be too hard to keep track of though, because there's only 6 players involved. So it's a deal. It's a deal with the Rays and the Cubs.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I know where this is going.
Yep. So the Mariners get Pete Fairbanks and Nico Horner.
Yep.
The Rays get Harry Ford and Ty Pete. And the Cubs get Matt Brash and Brandon Lowe. So the Cubs trade Horner for Lau and Brash.
Yep.
They get a second base replacement who has the same amount of club control, is basically at the same price point. You are giving up defense in that regard, but you're getting more pop. And that bullpen, well, it's a pretty decent bullpen. They don't have a clear-cut high leverage dude. Like they traded for Ryan Presley, but Presley's like not that dude anymore. At least I don't think he is anymore.
Yeah.
The Rays get Ford and Pete, 2 guys that we know that they like a lot. For
at least they have.
Yeah, for Fairbanks and Lau, which I think if you were just trading for Lau and Fairbanks, that would be pretty close, if not right on the money. And the Mariners trade Ford, Pete, and Brash to go get Fairbanks for a year and a half and Horner for a year and a half.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Cubs seems like a no-brainer for them.
Mhm.
Now the Rays, I don't know. I heard some interesting information about how the Rays have valued Yandy Diaz this
Mhm.
winter,
Mhm.
including one of the most laughably awful trade proposals I've ever heard.
Sure.
So the Rays are weird. You'd be like, oh, they're asking the moon for this guy, but then like Fairbanks, they're like, ooh, we really like Tyler Guff. Like we love his spin rates. And you're
Yeah.
just like, okay. So
Mhm.
the Rays are a tough team to deal with. In regard to like us knowing how to value who the Rays would value.
Right.
Jerry just seems to have no problem working with the Rays, and that's the important part here. So it
Yeah.
feels I don't know if the Rays would do it. I think they're the ones that would be holding this up a little bit, but you know, because it's such a no-brainer for the Cubs, like would the Cubs be willing to add, I don't know, Owen Casey or somebody like
Yeah.
that?
Maybe.
Alcantara, maybe the catching prospect they have. Maybe, and at that point, I think the Rays probably need to consider it. Lowe, I don't think they seem to really want to hold on to him, but I don't know if that's just because nobody wants to pay ridiculous prices for him.
Yeah.
But they do seem to like him a lot. So that's an interesting trade. It feels a little light on the Tampa side, but also again, like who knows? Tampa will make bulk deals sometimes. They'll take less than you think a player is worth, and then turns out they're right. Like what a surprise! So, and we know that above all, the Tampa Bay Rays freaking love athletic dudes who play up the middle.
Well, yeah, and for the Rays, it's like you're getting 2 top 10 Mariners prospects, one of whom plays a position of great need for you.
It's probably major league ready.
And at that point he's probably reporting to your big league club after the trade. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting deal. It's just like, where are the Cubs at in that moment? What does Brash look like at that moment?
Yeah.
But I think even if the Cubs are getting like a Matt Brash who's like 85% of the Brash that we know and love, I think they go, well, let's just bank on the upside here, and we get him for what, 3 more years after this?
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think you probably also want to see how Nico Horner is. I mean,
of course,
going on the IL and with a shoulder thing, so probably want to make sure he's okay. But obviously, again, we're assuming a lot, and therefore we should assume that.
But this is assuming that Horner, the Cubs are competitive still.
Yeah, which they probably will be.
Yeah.
I would say it also assumes that the Rays are competitive, but again, the Rays, man, like they make a trade when they feel like that's the best deal they make, whether it makes a ton of sense for their major league roster or not. So they're not very concerned with timelines, which is a strange freedom. So I think I'll do my Vlad trade now. And
okay.
I think that my proposal will be, I'll be told that it's not enough, would be my guess.
Yeah, I would assume the same with mine, but it's about as far as I'm willing to go.
Right. But I would say this is I brought the receipts on this one.
Ooh.
So you get a rental. It is about 60 games of Vlad Jr., right?
Mm-hmm.
And Vlad Jr. was amazing last year. The year before, he was very good, but he wasn't elite, right? Mm-hmm. He's kind of, either he oscillates between very good and elite.
Yes.
So there's no really knowing and plus in a 60 game sample size, anybody can struggle, especially changing teams in the middle of the year. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. You're getting a rental here, and just think back to like the last 10 years. Who are the biggest rental bats that have been traded at the deadline? It might take you a while. There hasn't been a lot of them. Rental bats don't get moved that often, not like potential superstars. So I went back and I looked, and the ones that Manny Machado, superstar player, more so than superstar bat. He was a rental to the Dodgers. You look at Nelson Cruz, rental to the Tampa Bay Rays. You look at Chris Bryant, rental to the Giants. And the one that I thought was most interesting is you look at JD Martinez when he was traded from Detroit to Arizona, rental there. Martinez had an incredible year that year. and he was 29 years old, and he actually still had some outfield value there. So I think Martinez is a pretty good comp. And when you look at what Martinez got, he got Dewell Lugo and I think Sergio Alcantara. Those are two good prospects in the Detroit system. They were not elite prospects. Or in the Arizona, they were not elite prospects by any stretch. And both of those players spectacularly flamed out. When you look at the Chris Bryant thing, again, a couple good prospects, not elite prospects. Manny Machado, it was more of a bulk deal. Dean Kramer was in that deal. He's probably the best piece they got eventually. But again, one good prospect, not an elite prospect. So the idea that you should have to give up Colt Emerson for Vlad Jr. is frankly ridiculous. So what I'm looking for here, when I look at for 2 months of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I still went aggressive based on the comps that I found, the JD, the Bryant, Machado, and the Nelson Cruz ones. I still went aggressive relative to those, but it might not be as aggressive as you think. But it is Vlad Jr. for Michael Arroyo and Ty Pete. And I think that is an incredibly aggressive offer for a 2-month bat. So
mine is more aggressive than yours. I'll say that. But you got two of the guys that are in my package.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's important to keep in mind that when teams do this, right, they do look at comps. It's like buying a house, right? You want to see the comps of what similar houses in your area go for. And Vlad Jr., is he better than all those other bats? No. JD Martinez was really, really good the year he was traded. He's younger, but if you're only getting a guy for 2 months, you don't really care about the age, do you? That's not actually a selling point. And something else to keep in mind is that the Blue Jays, as of this moment, are above the luxury tax threshold, and they are not a revenue share team. They do not get revenue sharing, which means is that if they keep Vlad, as things stand right now, if they keep him and offer him the qualifying offer and just let him leave in free agency, he leaves. The Blue Jays don't get a pick after the first round. They don't get a pick after the second round. They get a pick after the 4th round. Now, they're only slightly over the luxury tax, so they can definitely dump some salary midseason as they would if they traded Vlad, and they would get below that. But even then, they would still only get a pick after the 2nd round. So that's the choice they have. Let Vlad leave and test free agency and probably sign elsewhere and get a pick in the 70s, or trade him in July and probably get a couple of very good but not elite prospects. The choice seems pretty easy. And again, this is why they should have traded him last summer, because if they did last summer, the price would be probably twice as high.
All right. So my Vlad package is Cole Young, Michael Arroyo, Ty Pete, and Tyler Locklear for Vlad, and Jimmy Garcia comes back. Yay!
Yeah. That's an overpay based on the comps. But again, you certainly get, if the Mariners are up by 4 or 5 games in the AL West or whatever, they're like competing for the best record in baseball. Yeah. You might be willing to overpay.
This is also
in the American League.
This is also assuming that Blue Jays are out of it, of course, but also Vlad is on a tear, right? Like Vlad contract year. Vlad, I'm trying to maximize as much money as that. I'm trying to maximize my contract as much as possible this upcoming winter. Right. He's going nuts. Right. So, yeah.
I like my trade better. It's closer to the comps. But again, it only takes one team to blow the comps, and Seattle might be in a position to do it. And it might make a lot of sense, but understand this, just people typing away furiously in the comments. Getting Vlad for 2 months does not increase the likelihood that he signs an extension before he gets free agency.
Not at all.
It is
he's leaving. He's leaving.
He is going to play. If the Mariners were to acquire him, he would play 60 games max, plus whatever in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And then he's gone.
Yeah. So you have to be content with trading Cole Young, Michael Arroyo,
6 years of
whatever.
Cole Young, who's major league ready, by the way, or close to it. At this point, almost certainly would be. 6 years of Michael Arroyo, who could conceivably be in the big leagues next year. Yeah. You could also kind of be selling low on Michael. If Arroyo does what he did last year again, he's a top 50 prospect in baseball. So it's a big risk here. And that is why typically these elite bats don't get traded at the deadline. It's such a big risk. But Vlad is just kind of this perfect storm of like, again, the Blue Jays are delusional. They're out of it. They're not going to get much for him they're not going to get a great comp pick if he leaves. That's just not going to happen. At most, they're getting a pick in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
At worst, they're getting a pick after the 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
So trading him for a couple of good prospects who are much closer to the big leagues. Plus, the Blue Jays are a team. They're not going to want to do a 5-year rebuild, even if they know they're losing Vlad. They're incredibly stupid for not trading him last deadline. They're stupid for not trading him this winter. And as a result, unless they surprise a lot of people and actually make a pretty good playoff run, they're going to get half of what they could have gotten for him last year. And they're going to have nothing to show for it. So it's a big risk by Toronto, but this is what happens when you're delusional, and you don't understand your timeline and you're desperate to save your job, Mark. So
yeah,
keep that in mind. The Vlad thing's not going to go away, especially if the Jays struggle.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be probably the most talked about player in Seattle for a couple months. So,
and if Chicago also simultaneously struggles, then we're going to hear a lot about Kyle Tucker as well.
I don't have a Kyle Tucker trade, but he would fall more into the Vlad Jr., where it's like, look at the comps of
I feel like that would be. I feel like the packages that we put together would be pretty close.
Yeah,
they might change a little bit because the Cubs are probably even if they lose Tucker, like if they trade him or they lose him in free agency, they're probably still going to try and compete next year. So.
I mean, plus Tucker actually helps you defensively and on the bases and all that stuff. So it might cost a little more, but it's going to be pricey, but I don't think it's going to be as pricey as people assume. And under no circumstance would I give up Colt Emerson for 2 months of Vlad Jr. Not happening. It is immediate conversation over.
All right. You have one more trade, right?
Yep.
All right. And then that's it.
Also, this one comes with a comp. So this one will have the reverse effect where people will be like, that's way too much
oh boy,
to give up for this. So, but again, reminder, your boos mean nothing to me. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Boo.
So we are trading Michael Arroyo.
Okay.
Logan Evans. Arroyo, by the way, could be Farmelo, could be Les. It's a top 50-ish prospect in baseball, roughly.
Sure.
Arroyo, Logan Evans, Tyler Locklear, and Jeter Martinez.
Okay.
To the Cardinals for Ryan Helsley and JoJo Romero. It's a lot to give up for a rental reliever.
For a couple of relievers, yeah.
Look at the Tanner Scott trade just last year.
It's true. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
They gave up Adam Mazur. It's very close to Evans, very similar to Evans. They gave up Graham Pauley, very similar to Locklear. They gave up another high upside arm, very similar to Martinez. And the prize of that deal, Robbie Snelling, was about the 50th best prospect in baseball at the time. He's a legit, number one in a lot of systems. They gave up a ton to get half a year or 60 games, and really because it's a reliever, 20 games of an established elite reliever.
Yep.
And a year and a half of a solid middle guy having a good year. They also got Brian, is it Horing, something like that?
Yeah.
They got 2 relievers out of that, but this is what it cost. This is roughly what it costs to get Tanner Scott. Ryan Helsley, same neighborhood as Scott, probably a bigger track record than Tanner Scott even though. So it seems like a lot, but when you look at the Tanner Scott comp, I think I pretty much matched it 1-for-1 to what that actual deal was. And interestingly enough, Helsley and Romero both had the same club control as the 2 arms that the Padres acquired at the deadline. So if you want an elite reliever, this is why I've been saying this all day. If you want an elite reliever at the deadline, it's pricey. It is very expensive at the deadline to get these guys. So if you want Ryan Helsley, if he's big on your target list, this is probably what it costs. So be prepared for that, which is why I wouldn't be shocked at all if Jerry was just like, maybe
I don't think that's something they would do. I think like the Bednar thing, the Bednar trade that I brought up is probably the most aggressive they would get on a reliever.
Yeah, but Helsley's much better.
And that's also assuming that like Bednar is just like a 0.7 to 1 win kind of deal.
I think ultimately the Mariners would much rather just go sign or go trade like Guff or McGraw or
Here's a guy that has a sweeper that we really like. We're going to trade for him. Yeah.
Like, I think they'd much rather do the Garcia thing again than they would give up elite prospects for a rental reliever. That's just not something they're likely going to do.
Yeah.
But again, if you want Ryan Helsley, you're in luck. His price was established less than a year ago. We know what he's going to cost. And this is pretty much point for point what it cost the Padres to acquire him. So
that seems right on the money.
You're not going to tell me that is a ridiculous asking price, because I did the research on this. That is the comp. Do you want him or not? You can definitely say, I don't want to pay that for a rental reliever. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that is what it costs to get him.
And that's kind of where I land, where I'm just like,
me too. I'm like, I'd rather take the chance on Brash and Coar and like.
Well, it also just depends on, it also just depends on, where is this team at, right? What are the other needs this team has?
Right.
Yeah. No.
It's allocation of resources though. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if that's kind of like within their philosophy to do that.
No, I don't think it is either. But again, more than anything, this is a trade to show people this is what it cost.
Yeah. It's absolutely the Tanner Scott deal. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Looking forward to seeing all of your thoughts and your grades down in the comments below. That's it for Fan Fiction Friday for a little while. We'll probably boot it back up in June. We'll see where the team is at that point, what kind of trades you guys are thinking about. We'll see what kinds of players kind of carry over from the off-season Fan Fiction Fridays, which new players we start to hear about, because that always happens. Right. So, should be fun. But that's it. And now we're going to get ready to go into regular season mode. So starting Monday, Mailbag Monday. Tuesday, we got our flag players. Wednesday, we got our Mariners predictions. And then Thursday, we got our opening day preview. So, all right. That is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.